break it down for you, Mark.
Invincible is currently the best show on TV. The first season became iconic over the past few years, both because of how genuinely good it is and its cultural relevance. All the memes, the Fortnite collab, and all the other stuff.
You're fighting so you can watch everyone around you die! Think, Mark!
And season 2 is the perfect follow-up to season 1. It continues the stories and themes while adding new characters and new plot lines. And there will be spoilers in this review. Mark has a pretty solid story in this season. Omni-Man's attack at the end of season 1 is felt all over, especially with Mark's character arc. Throughout the entire season, Mark is trying to prove to himself and everyone else that he isn't like his father. He risks his life to save people. He struggles to be a good boyfriend. And he misses a bunch of his college classes. And when Mark reunites with Nolan, he still doesn't want to be like him so much that he holds back in their fight against the Viltrumites, which nearly kills him. And when he does tap into his full power, it scares him, and after that, he continues to hold back until the final episode. When the main villain of the season threatens Mark's family, he stops holding back in the coolest way possible. And in his blind rage, Mark beats Engstrom to death in a similar way to when his father beat him, and this haunts him to the point where he realizes he has to make changes. He can't have a relationship with Amber or Eve, he can't go to college, and he has to focus all his efforts on being a hero instead of the violent Viltrumite he was predetermined to be. And it's really easy to feel for Mark as he struggles throughout the season. And similarly, Debbie has a very sympathetic story as well. She was affected by Omni-Man's betrayal probably more than Mark was, and I found her parts of the story very compelling, especially when she had to start taking care of Oliver later in the season. Omni-Man doesn't have a ton of screen time here, but we do get to see the beginning of his redemption arc. He starts to actually feel compassion for other species, and he gets freaky with a Thraxan. The Guardians of the Globe get a lot of screen time this season, and a lot of these characters get moments to shine, especially Rexplode. Holy crap, he goes through genuine character growth, and his fight with the Lizard League was actually insane. He gets 2 slashes from this lizard lady, takes a hit from the big dude, gets his hand bitten off, gets shot in the head, and still manages to win the fight and kill the rest of the Lizard League. Wow, he's actually goated. He might have been my favorite character of the whole season. No, actually, my favorite character was, of course, Alan the Alien. Baby. Gosh, I love Alan so much. My favorite character type is Goofball, who's also really strong, like Luffy from One Piece, or Plastic Man from DC Comics, or Goku, but like the Dragon Ball Z abridged version.
When you fall off that horse, you get right back up and you eat that horse.
Alan has a cool story in this season. It's through him that we're introduced to the coalition of planets who are trying to fight against the Viltrumites. Here is where we're also introduced to Thetis, who's voiced by Peter Cullen, aka the voice of Optimus Prime.
I'm going to turn into a truck now.
Also, Alan's sacrifice scene is really well done. It's super sad and good at showing the difference between Viltrumites and other strong aliens, which leads to Alan recovering, becoming even stronger. Seriously, he's beefier than an In-N-Out 4x4, and becoming capable of fighting Viltrumites. I loved Alan in this season, and even though I don't always like Seth Rogen, he works really well for this character. This season also had some fantastic villains. I briefly mentioned the Lizard League, but they were a lot stronger than I thought. Their fight with the Guardians was genuinely shocking, and one of the most memorable moments of the whole season. The Viltrumites are also very threatening. Steve Harvey and these other 2 die pretty quickly, but heck, even they're pretty strong. They broke Nolan's back and all but killed Alan. And there's also General Krieg and Anissa, who are both very intimidating. And yes, I'm aware of what Anissa does later on in the comics. I'm just mentioning it now so I don't get any comments about it. But Angstrom Levy is a great main villain of this season. He's obviously not as complex or interesting as Omni-Man, but he's very interesting in his own right. He started out with good intentions, but because of a big misunderstanding, he ended up looking like a ball sack, and his memories are now merging with the memories of all the other different Angstroms in the multiverse, most of which have evil Invincibles. And so him going crazy and trying to kill Mark and his family makes sense, which leads to their incredible final fight. The portal jumping sequence is the height of the episode, maybe the whole season. I loved the not Spider-Man, the not Walking Dead, and the not Batman cameos. And I of course loved Fortnite Ninja! Whoa! And I already mentioned the emotional side of Mark getting the victory royale on Angstrom, but the fight itself is well executed and very brutal. And this fight and the whole season has fantastic voice acting. Steven Yeun. I have loved this guy's work ever since he said the funny thing.
People of Earth, you are gay.
I of course loved him as Glenn in The Walking Dead, which is my favorite show, and I may or may not be talking about it somewhat soon, so stay tuned. And he of course has done a bunch of other stuff like Nope, Okja, and Minari, which he is Oscar nominated for, but some of his finest work is in Invincible. He sells every line so well, and he's able to bring so much emotion to this vocal performance, and I will always remember his line delivery of,
I thought you were stronger.
absolutely devastating. And Sandra Oh as Debbie, J.K. Simmons as Nolan, Zazie Beetz as Amber, and Walton Goggins as Cecil are all standouts. I also want to mention Kari Payton. He plays a bunch of characters in this show and he always kills it. I mean, come on, that's King Ezekiel. My favorite part about Invincible is the fact that it has so many Walking Dead actors in it, because both are created by Robert Kirkman. It's fun. We have fun here. There are also some things I think season 2 improved over season 1. For starters, Amber is a much better character. She was unanimously considered the worst part of the show, but they managed to make her a more understanding and sympathetic character. In season 1, she was guilt-tripping Mark for leaving her and doing superhero stuff.
How dare you save people's lives? You should have been on a date with me instead.
But in season 2, she's a lot more reasonable. She's understanding that Mark is a superhero and has to do superhero things, but she also has the right to feel bad that he's not there a lot of the time. These two characters realizing they're just not fit for one another feels very natural, and their breakup was well done. If this is the last we see of Amber in this series, I'm glad she left on a high note and is no longer the worst character in the show. Also, I think I liked the animation a little bit more. The first season's animation wasn't bad by any means, but I just think there were more memorable visuals in season 2, like a bunch of the fights, this shot of Nolan and Mark teaming up, and a bunch of other cool moments. There are some issues I have with this season though. For one, I feel like it wasn't as focused as season 1. The first season had a story that worked its way throughout all 8 episodes. That season is basically the story of Omni-Man's betrayal, and there were other subplots and other stories too, but it had that one strong story that developed over the entire runtime, and I don't think season 2 really has that. I think Angstrom Levy is a good villain, but he pretty much only affects the story in the first and last episode. The whole middle of the show is the characters doing a bunch of side quests that will be expanded on as we go to season 3 and 4 and so on. Also, there were some stories I just didn't really care about. The whole cyborg storyline with Donald finding out that he's an android and helps out that other kid who is an android was pretty boring. There's just so much going on in this show that this plot point kind of gets buried and it's very forgettable. I would say, all in all, Invincible season 2 isn't as good as season 1. However, that doesn't mean it's bad, because it most certainly is not. Invincible is the best show on TV right now, and hopefully will be for however many seasons we get. It truly is an incredible show, and if you want to watch something else incredible, click here to watch my video on the almost forgotten Bigfoot movie, or click on this video that YouTube picked out just for you. Yeah, just click on either one of them. You can't go wrong, they're both good. Just click on one of them, they'll be happy, I promise.